Welcome back to the channel. I appreciate you tuning in because today we're about to unpack something that's really flying under the radar for a lot of crypto investors and builders. If you've ever wondered whether Bitcoin can ever truly embrace decentralized finance, or if you've heard the skeptics insist that it's impossible, then today's deep dive might open your eyes to what's really happening behind the scenes. We're going to talk about the Internet Computer, also known as ICP, and the monumental shift they're pioneering right now by enabling two-click Bitcoin DeFi directly on-chain without relying on traditional bridges or third-party oracles like Chainlink. This is a game changer, not just for ICP, but for Bitcoin itself. By the end of this video, you'll have a better understanding of how this tech works, why it matters, and what makes the Internet Computer such a powerful yet overlooked player in the AI and smart contract space. So get comfortable, grab a coffee or a snack, because I'm going to break down what makes this so significant, how it all ties back to comments Vitalik Buterin made about ICP, and why this could have huge implications for the future of decentralized finance, especially for Bitcoin. This video is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not financial advice. Always do your own research and consult a professional before making any investment decisions. Let's get into it. Let's start with a bit of context. Traditionally, blockchains like Bitcoin and Ethereum have faced a massive hurdle when it comes to cross-chain interaction. Bitcoin, for all its strengths, especially its rock-solid security and decentralization, was never designed to be programmable in the way that Ethereum or other smart contract platforms are. In practice, that means Bitcoin has always been limited to acting as a store of value. Sure, there have been Layer 2 solutions like the Lightning Network to make transactions faster and cheaper, but that still doesn't unlock true programmability. You can't natively launch complex DeFi apps on Bitcoin alone because it lacks the smart contract infrastructure. To get around this, other ecosystems and developers have relied on bridges and third-party tools. For example, Chainlink has become a dominant player for off-chain data feeds and cross-chain information sharing. But all of this adds risk. Every bridge or external oracle can become a single point of failure, and as we've seen countless times, bridges get exploited. Entire treasuries have been wiped out because a hacker found a vulnerability in a bridge that connects two separate chains. So the core problem is simple. If your blockchain can't directly talk to another blockchain in a trustless, secure way, you have to rely on clunky workarounds. And those workarounds can be weak links that break everything. Now here's where the Internet Computer changes the entire equation. What the DFINITY Foundation and the ICP community have developed is a unique piece of cryptographic innovation called chain fusion, also known as chain key cryptography. This isn't just a fancy name, it's a real technological leap that lets ICP's smart contracts interact directly with other blockchains like Bitcoin and Ethereum in a seamless, secure manner. Unlike the usual scenario where you'd have to go through a bridge or a custodial partner, Internet Computer smart contracts, which they call canisters, can actually read and write directly to Bitcoin's blockchain. This means you can build applications that use Bitcoin natively without ever needing to wrap BTC into a token or trust a third-party custodian. Think about that for a second. You've got the immutability and security of Bitcoin combined with the advanced programmability of the Internet Computer. And this is why ICP has been leaning heavily into the AI narrative as well. Because its smart contracts don't just store data, they can actually compute. They can host websites, run applications, and do complex on-chain operations that just aren't possible on a basic ledger system. And guess what? This isn't just me hyping it up. Vitalik Buterin himself, yes, the creator of Ethereum, has recognized DFINITY's work as cutting edge. In an interview a while back, he actually called the Internet Computer a sister network to Ethereum. You don't hear Vitalik call every chain that, and that speaks volumes about the respect he has for Dominic Williams and the DFINITY team's contributions, especially in areas like threshold signatures and distributed key generation. Let's unpack that moment with Vitalik for a second because it's important. Vitalik highlighted how Dominic and the DFINITY crew were pushing the envelope with technologies like threshold signatures, which are fundamental for secure cryptographic operations across distributed systems. At the time, some people interviewing Vitalik seemed dismissive or skeptical, almost brushing off Internet Computer as just another competitor. But you could tell from Vitalik's tone that he didn't see it that way. In his mind, this wasn't about direct competition. It was about complementary innovation, building pieces that strengthen the entire crypto ecosystem. And that attitude is key. Because right now, the entire industry is slowly realizing that crypto isn't a zero-sum game. If one major ecosystem crumbles, it can drag confidence in the entire space down with it. So while Bitcoin maximalists still cling to the idea that only Bitcoin should exist and everything else is worthless, most of the industry is moving toward collaboration and interoperability. In other words, chains aren't just rivals anymore, they're becoming interdependent. The success of one can bolster the success of another. And that's exactly the kind of synergy ICP is tapping into with Bitcoin through chain fusion. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, Bitcoin maximalists. A lot of hardcore BTC supporters hate the idea of anything being built on top of Bitcoin. To them, the idea of Bitcoin DeFi is either pointless or outright dangerous because it might introduce security risks or centralization. They argue that Bitcoin's strength comes from its simplicity and laser focus on being a store of value. But that mindset misses something crucial. Bitcoin's security and decentralization are its biggest selling points, but they don't generate new utility on their own. If Bitcoin stays static while other chains like Ethereum and ICP build entire worlds of smart contracts, lending markets, decentralized exchanges, and even AI applications, then Bitcoin risks being left behind. And here's the kicker. All these Bitcoin DeFi projects that have popped up in the past have always struggled because they had to bolt on external solutions that reintroduce centralized risks. Whether it's BitVM, Sovereign, or RSK, every so-called Bitcoin DeFi platform depends on some trusted third party or a bridge that can be hacked. What ICP is doing is fundamentally different. It's baking the cross-chain capability directly into its cryptography, eliminating the weakest link in the chain. That's why it's so ironic when Bitcoin purists scoff at this. They're dismissing something that actually expands Bitcoin's usefulness without compromising its core principles. So let's get practical. One of the standout projects putting this into action is called Liquidium.fi. They're building directly on ICP using this chain fusion tech to unlock Bitcoin lending, borrowing, and DeFi utilities that Bitcoin itself can't support natively. Here's how it works in a nutshell. Liquidium allows you to supply your Bitcoin, earn yield, borrow against your holdings, and move capital across chains, all without custodians or third-party oracles. Instead, it leverages the Internet Computer's native chain key signatures to interact directly with the Bitcoin blockchain. The beauty here is that this goes way beyond a proof of concept. Liquidium already has millions of dollars locked in its protocols. Sure, it's still small relative to the big Ethereum DeFi giants, but it's proof that this isn't vaporware. It's real, functional infrastructure. It also shows that there's real demand for Bitcoin to evolve past just sitting in cold storage. People want to put their BTC to work, just like they do with ETH and stablecoins. And projects like Liquidium.fi give them the tools to do that securely and easily. And this is where it gets even more interesting. ICP has made deploying Bitcoin DeFi about as easy as it gets. There's a platform called ICP Ninja. Think of it as an online toolkit for spinning up canister smart contracts. With just 2 clicks, you can deploy a multi-user Bitcoin wallet smart contract that can receive, send, and interact with Bitcoin directly. No messing around with complicated setups. No fussing with obscure command line tools. This is about lowering the barrier to entry so that developers, and eventually everyday users, can tap into the power of Bitcoin DeFi without needing to become blockchain experts. Imagine what happens as more and more developers see how seamless this is. You click once to import your project into ICP Ninja, then click again to deploy the canister. That's it. You've got a functioning Bitcoin wallet or even a DeFi protocol running on the Internet Computer. And because it's all using chain key cryptography, you're not sacrificing security for convenience. Now let's address another big point, The idea that total decentralization is the end goal for every chain. Here's the truth. Complete decentralization is more of an ideal than a reality, even for Bitcoin. Sure, the Bitcoin network is robust and hash rate is distributed around the globe, but a huge chunk of that hash rate comes from large, publicly traded mining companies based in just a few regions. If enough of those companies colluded, in theory, they could censor transactions or even attempt a 51% attack. Does that mean Bitcoin is worthless? Of course not. It just means that decentralization always exists on a spectrum, and what matters more in practice is whether the network is resilient enough to survive targeted attacks or failures. The internet computer acknowledges this reality too. Its node operators are spread out globally, and its governance system allows the community to have a say in network upgrades. It's not perfectly decentralized, but neither is Ethereum, Solana, or any other chain. What ICP focuses on instead is providing real compute power, developer tools, and interoperability that can't be easily matched by other blockchains. So let's bring this full circle. Bitcoin is the original king of crypto, but it can't just rest on its laurels forever. People want more than just a digital gold vault. They want their assets to work for them, to generate yield, to be leveraged in lending markets, to unlock new liquidity. If Bitcoin can't do that on its own, it needs help. And the internet computer's chain fusion tech is basically giving Bitcoin superpowers without compromising its security. You don't have to wrap your BTC into WBTC on Ethereum anymore. You don't have to trust a bridge that can be hacked overnight. You're interacting with real Bitcoin directly on its own chain. Combine that with ICP's AI narrative, the fact that it's one of the few blockchains where smart contracts can do real computation, and you have an ecosystem that's uniquely positioned to become the backbone for more advanced applications that need both programmability and high security. So to wrap this up, ICP is proving that Bitcoin DeFi is not only possible, it's already happening. The two-click deployment is not just a gimmick. It's a glimpse into how blockchain infrastructure is evolving. It's about making powerful, secure, decentralized applications accessible to builders and users alike. Vitalik's respect for DFINITY's work is not empty praise. It's recognition that true innovation means pushing the boundaries of what's possible. The internet computer is showing that it's not just a side project or an experimental chain. It's becoming the glue that can tie different ecosystems together in ways that are secure, efficient, and practical. And if you're a Bitcoin holder, this should excite you, because it means that your BTC can finally do more than sit in a wallet. It can become part of a thriving, trustless DeFi landscape that stays true to Bitcoin's core principles. The future of blockchain is not about tribalism, it's about synergy, and ICP's chain fusion is a huge step forward in that direction. So, what do you think about ICP's current position? Are you bullish on its growth in AI and DeFi? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you found value in this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more breakdowns like this. Thanks for watching. Stay curious, stay cautious, and I'll catch you in the next one.